back to FindYourShowroom.tv. Today we're here with Ray Poling, and we're going to talk about 1031 exchanges and all kinds of other things that Ray wants to bring up. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here again.
We were talking about 1031s, and why don't we go into a couple of basic rules that people can kind of relate to kind of give an idea if this would be something that they might need or want to take care of.
All right. Well, in the past, just to review for just a moment, we talked about that properties to qualify for 1031 tax exchange have to be business or investment properties.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we talked about mixed-use properties where there's some rental and there's some personal use. And we know they are difficult sometimes because there's some timelines. What we didn't talk about, and what most people don't understand, that properties can be exchanged and they don't have to be like use, they just have to be like kind.
Okay.
Which means I don't have to sell a condo unit that I rent and buy another condo unit that I rent. I can buy vacant land and I can buy a gas station.
Okay. I
can sell a Wawa and then buy a rental unit, a condo rental unit, residential property. So these properties don't have to be the same to qualify.
Okay.
Also importantly, and I get a lot of questions about this, well, do the properties have to be of same or similar value? Well, there's a golden rule in 1031 tax exchange, and it sounds frightening. It's not really for those of us in the business, but we like to say that you have to exchange to equal value or higher, and in your new property have equal equity or more. If you pass that two-pronged test, then you won't pay capital gains tax. Let's talk about examples to make it a little clear.
All right.
If I sell a property for $400,000, pay off a loan for $200,000, there's a $200,000 mortgage on it.
Right.
What do I have left over? $200,000. A lot of people would like to be able to buy another property for $200,000 and complete a 1031 tax exchange. But that won't work, because if they sell for $400,000, they have to buy to $400,000. So just taking that two and buying for two is a failure of that test.
Okay. I don't know, did you bring up how much how much they owned, or how much was the gain in that?
Well, we don't get involved in the computation of the gain until or unless you want to pay tax.
Okay.
That gain's not important because the gain is rolled over in a 1031 tax exchange.
Okay, so you really don't need to know what
I
their
don't need
basis
to know
was.
what the gain is,
okay,
unless people are not complying with the general rule. Remember the general rule, you must exchange to equal value or higher, and in your new property have equal or greater equity. Now, let's give us another example. You're selling that property for $400,000. You're paying a mortgage off for $2,000.
Right.
And we said if I then use the remaining $2,000 to buy a property, I'm going to pay tax. And I'm going to pay tax on $200,000, which is the amount of the mortgage I paid off.
Okay.
That's called mortgage boot. It's the same as receiving cash. It's like I got the cash and paid the mortgage off. So that's subject to capital gains tax. And here's the answer to your question: to the extent that it represents gain.
Okay. Okay.
So it may be that all of that $200,000 is not subject to tax. These are very specific computations that we can't talk about today. The only thing we can say is you need to know that all of these financial transactions, what you sell your property for, what you buy your new property for, must be carefully examined so someone like myself, a professional in the business, can help you determine what your potential capital gains tax is.
Right. And if somebody holds out any of that money, then that portion of that money would be taxable.
Taxable, and it's common. People do that. They sell a property for $400,000, no mortgage, buy another one for $300,000. There's $100,000 left over. What do they do with it? Let's say they put it in their pocket. They pay capital gains tax.
Right.
They can elect to do that. A lot of people elect to do that. Now, some people elect the following. they'll buy 2 properties when they sell that one to make sure they don't pay capital gains tax.
Mm-hmm.
They sell for $400,000. They buy 1 property for $300,000. They have $100,000 left over. I tell them it's subject to tax, or I tell them maybe you want to buy another property. So if they use all of the money from that sale in that instance to buy new property, they won't have a capital gains tax payment.
And the whole key to this is that the money has to stay within your firm. None of that money can leave.
Right, and that's a very good point, and I've made some assumption here, and it's good to go backwards. When you sell a property to start a 1031 tax exchange,
mm-hmm.
any proceeds of sale has to be held by a company like mine, Realtex.
Right.
That seller, that exchanger, will leave the settlement table without any money at all. It must be left with us or someone like us.
Right.
They can't have the money. They can't have any rights to that money. It's hands off. Their settlement sheet will have a big 0 on the bottom, and it'll
right.
say payable to Realtex. Whatever that bottom line would have been comes to my company, and we hold it until the new property is purchased.
That's right. So if there's any collusion or anything, if that money comes in or comes out, then it's forfeited.
We don't let anybody touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will call us after we've received those net proceeds of sale and say, gee, I'm short $10,000 on my son's college tuition. I need $10,000 from the funds you're holding. The answer is, giving you that $10,000 is the same as giving it all to you.
Really?
Yes. The whole thing would be subject to tax if they're allowed to take any money out of there at all.
Wow.
So
okay.
once it reaches us, that money is held until the exchange is complete.
So there's a lot more to this, and that's why we have experts like you handling this stuff.
That's why people call me all day long,
mm-hmm.
to answer these questions.
And before we wrap up, you actually, even though you're in New Jersey, you can do these throughout the whole country.
We do exchanges all over the nation, and we
right.
have for over 20 years.
Right. Well, great. Well, that's some great information. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be right back.